Hey, I'm Janelle and this is toDIYfor. So quickly before we get into today's DIY, I wanted to share with you a little bit about my DIY history. My mom has been a huge inspiration for me for this channel and for any DIY projects that I've ever done. And she actually is a wedding decorator. She does flowers, she does it all. So on many occasions I've gone out and I've decorated weddings with her. So I know a lot about it, but I also know that it is very expensive. So that's why this week I opted to show you how you can create a wedding centerpiece from the dollar store. Pretty much everything came from the dollar store. So I'm going with fake flowers, and yes, I would prefer real flowers, but not everybody can afford that. And there are actually a lot of benefits to doing fake florals for a wedding. So A, you're going to be able to make these centerpieces months in advance because they're going to keep. B, the flowers are very easy to manipulate and glue to certain places if you need it. And C, you can sell all of these floral arrangements when you're all done and make back a lot of money. I actually had a girlfriend who did that last year with her centerpieces, and who cares? They were fake flowers, but they looked absolutely gorgeous. Besides, people are looking at the couple anyways. So I'm gonna show you how I put together this dollar store centerpiece that I actually love. And total, I think this set me back about $6, $7. So just keep that in mind because you're going to need to have one of these at every single table, and depending on how big your wedding gets, it gets very expensive. It's really easy to do, so let's get into this week's DIY.
So everything you see here is from the dollar store aside from the embroidery hoop, which is great because you can usually find these at thrift stores and you get 2 for 1. This is just one piece of that embroidery hoop. Also, you're going to need a foam floral block. I picked up these little twinkly lights, not necessary. You'll need some ribbon, and then I picked up 3 different sprigs of flowers from my dollar store. So with your floral foam block, you're going to cut out a piece of that so your embroidery hoop can sit inside of that. So I'm just doing this with a steak knife, cutting that out carefully and trying to make this as snug as a fit as possible. You'll want to glue that into place, and then I did just add some of these foam bits back on top to kind of flatten out the top. Maybe not necessary. But next you're going to want to cover up that floral block with some ribbon. So this is just basic white ribbon I got at the dollar store. I'm hot gluing it into place all the way around the base. And then I did 2 pieces across the top. Adds a little more support for the hoop, but also just covers up that kind of mess there. And the rest of all of this is going to get covered up with the fake flowers. So here is just kind of what I did with my flowers, cutting them all off of that wire piece there to have more manageable, smaller, workable pieces. I also went through and I cut off all of these green leaves, mostly because I thought they looked extra fake and I just didn't really like the look of them. But to start this piece, I have these pieces from, I guess, what would be a fern, and I'm wrapping them up around the embroidery hoop. So this is a bonus to working with fake florals. You can hot glue them into place. You can really manipulate them. Otherwise, you're going to have to wire this around the hoop if you are working with real flowers. So then for all of these pieces, I mean, it's just you kind of fiddle around and you push them in wherever it looks good. I would suggest starting with some of the greens and the leaves, then adding the flowers. You can hot glue them into place or stuff them in with a piece of wire on the end of those fake florals. Make sure it looks good from all angles, and you basically just want to cover up all of that foam. Lastly, I'm adding a little number because tables are normally numbered so people know where they're sitting, just with a freehand drawing of the number 10 on a piece of paper, and I've sandwiched it in between a little wooden skewer that I picked up at the dollar store. So really simple, stabbing that down into the center, and now we have our completed centerpiece. The last thing I added were these little firefly lights wrapped all the way around that hoop, and they are battery powered. You can get them at the dollar store, and I'm going to hide that battery pack right in the base of this. So I've cut it out of the floral foam, fits in there perfectly, and it sits flat so it's completely hidden, and your centerpiece is done.
centerpiece. I personally love it, and I would totally do something like this at my own wedding. Not that I'm getting married, but I do really love the aesthetic and the style of it. Also, let me know what you think about using fake versus real flowers for a wedding. You can leave that down in the comments below. And if you have any wants, desires, needs to see anything else wedding related, please leave that down in the comments below. This was actually a request from somebody for centerpiece ideas, so that's what I did. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll be back next Wednesday with a new video. And if you try to make these centerpieces yourself, or maybe a variation of them, please send me some photos. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter @JanelleSteeper and just tag me in those photos. Cheers, and I'll talk to you next week.